March 20th, 1994. Orthodox Christians around the world celebrated the Sunday of Orthodoxy, the day symbolizing the restoration of icons in the liturgical life of the Church and the end of the iconoclastic dispute. The Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople is celebrating this Sunday for one more special reason. The Patriarchal Church of St. George is open again for the first time after the completion of its radical renovation, which started in 1992. This project completes the effort of the Angelopoulos family for the reconstruction of the Ecumenical Patriarchate's building complex, which also includes the renovation of the Patriarchal House, the reconstruction of the Patriarchal Building, and the erection of the Patriarchal Library. The completion of the renovation of the building complex is the fulfillment of a dream that started 7 years ago. It is also the continuation of an effort that spans more than 500 years for the protection and preservation of the center of worldwide orthodoxy, the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople in the Phanar.
Χρόνια πολλά!
After the fall of Constantinople in 1453 and the collapse of the Byzantine state, the Patriarchate came under the control of the Ottoman Empire, which viewed the Patriarchate as the religious and political leader of the nation of Greeks, the Rum Milliyet. This relationship with the Muslim authorities became a source of woes for the Patriarchate, which, in times of tension, became the first victim of religious and ethnic persecution. The seat of the Patriarchate was moved from the magnificent church of Hagia Sophia, first to the Church of Holy Apostles, then the Church of the Pamakaristos, and then the Church of St. Demetrius, as one church after the other were being converted into mosques. In 1599 it was moved to the building complex around the Church of St. George in the Phanar section of Constantinople, where it remains today. In 1941, a fire destroyed completely a great part of the four-story patriarchal building. Since then, and until the mid-1980s, the building remained in ruins, while numerous requests for its reconstruction were rejected by the Turkish government. The permit for the reconstruction was granted only in 1987 by then Prime Minister of Turkey Turgut Özal, after extensive negotiations with Archbishop Iakovos of North and South America and former President Jimmy Carter. The cost for the completion of this endeavor was immense, and the reconstruction was still uncertain. The exceptional contribution of the family of Panagiotis Angelopoulos allowed the speedy reconstruction of the patriarchal building from its foundations, as well as the renovation of the adjoining structures. The result was the installation of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in a modern, functional building complex dedicated on December 17, 1989.
Αισθήματα πρώτον δοξολογίας προς τον Θεό, ο οποίος έστειλε την οικογένεια Αγγελοπούλου να κάνει...
Feelings of doxology to God, who guided the Angelopoulos family to make this contribution to the Church, to the Ecumenical Patriarchate. And then feelings of gratitude to the Angelopoulos family, who suddenly and very spontaneously approached the late Patriarch Demetrius during his official visit to the Church of Greece in 1987, and told him that they placed themselves to the service of the Ecumenical Patriarchate for the radical renovation of the administrative building. Back then, there was no thought on the inclusion of the Patriarchal Church or the Patriarchal Library.
Δεν υπήρχε η σκέψη για τον Πατριαρχικό Ναό και για την Πατριαρχική Βιβλιοθήκη. Πρόκειτο μόνον περί του Πατριαρχικού Οίκου και ο Πατριάρχης Δημήτριος, όπως ενθυμούμε πολύ καλά, είπε ότι αυτό ήταν
Patriarch Demetrius, as I recall very well, said that this was a miracle attributed to the icon of Axion Esti. It is worthy. That was being displayed in the Cathedral of Athens. When my predecessor went to pay his respect to the icon, he prayed to the Mother of God to give a solution to the problem of the restoration of the Patriarchal building. 1 or 2 days later, Mr. Angelopoulos came to his hotel and placed his family to the Patriarch's service. It was a tangible, a real miracle. And when Patriarch Demetrius visited Mount Athos, the holy mountain, he described this incident to the monks there. That is why we are grateful first to God and then to the family of Panagiotis Angelopoulos, who was named Megas Logothetis, the highest office presented by the Ecumenical Patriarchate, as well as great benefactor. The Angelopoulos family not only contributed in such a grand way to our Patriarchate, but they also provided an example to others who might want to contribute similarly to the Mother Church, other churches and metropoles of the throne, to build educational and charitable institutions. They gave a very good example worthy of imitation by those who could do so.
Ένα καλό παράδειγμα που αξίζει να το μιμηθούν όσοι μπορούν.
Since the Patriarchal building is considered a landmark by the Archaeological Department of Istanbul, its restoration demanded the preservation of the exterior look, while inside, the historical significance of the various rooms required a careful approach to every detail. A first effort to unify the space was undertaken by equalizing the roofs of the different buildings. Inside, the design of the overall space conformed to the unique type of the building complex, something that required the elimination of architectural elements that did not belong to the specific look of the building. This way, the buildings that had been built in different periods were molded into one style, from the general layout of the spaces to the detailed construction of the furniture in every room. The unity of exterior and interior of the Patriarchal building betrays a harmony that is a result of a presence beyond the talented labor of human hands. It is the imprint of a divine mission that spans nearly 2,000 years of unaltered resolve and spiritual exaltation. The Patriarchal Library began being formed by the time of Emperor Constantine the Great and continued to be enriched throughout the days of the Byzantine Empire. Over the centuries, historical events and natural disasters contributed to the decline of the Patriarchal Library. The re-emergence of the Patriarchate, however, in the leadership of the Orthodox world, demanded the reinstitution of the library. In August of 1991, during the tenure of Demetrius I, and thanks to the contribution of the Angelopoulos family, the work begun for the restoration of the various rooms of the library. The reconstructed room where manuscripts and old books are being stored can hold today 500 manuscripts and 8,000 books. Since the early days of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, the existence of a well-supplied and maintained library was mandated by the vital needs of the Church, namely its wide didactic efforts, as well as the defense against the various heresies that tormented the Empire and the Church throughout the centuries. The fact that many councils were convened in the capital of the Empire made absolutely necessary the existence of an archive within the Patriarchate, rich in theological texts and other books, where the Church Fathers could turn to find the necessary sources. The numerous fires and the two conquests of Constantinople by the Crusaders and the Ottoman Turks destroyed the important patriarchal library. As a result, a big number of books and invaluable manuscripts were lost forever. According to witnesses of that period, in one day after the fall of the city to the Turks, 120,000 books were destroyed. After the installation of the Patriarchate at the Phanar section of the city in 1599, the library was reinstituted, and since the beginnings of the 18th century it was housed in the eastern wing of the Patriarchal building complex. Since then, it was enriched with numerous manuscripts and books, some of which were published by the official Patriarchal print shop, which started operations in 1627. Today, the overall layout of the library is still inspired by the Byzantine times, returning the visitor to the years when the library was frequented by the great Church Fathers of the past. When the seat of the Ecumenical Patriarchate was moved to the Phanar, the Church of St. George was a small parish church, built near the end of the Byzantine era. A few minor repairs and a reconstruction in 1614 enlarged the church somehow, but the ever-growing needs of the Patriarchate demanded the extension of the existing church. The Great Fire of the Phanar in the beginning of the 18th century claimed the Patriarchal Church as its victim as well. Patriarch Jeremiah III, helped by contributions of clergy and laity, rebuilt the church from its foundations and extended it mainly to the west. The radical reconstruction of the church is confirmed by an inscription on the holy altar, and reportedly was completed within 4 months. The church built at that time is the basilica that exists today, with the addition of small repairs. Since 1836, however, when the last repairs took place, a long time had passed and naturally a lot of damages had occurred that required urgent attention. The Patriarchal Church of St. George was saved miraculously from the fire that destroyed the Patriarchal building in 1941, but it remained, until its recent reconstruction, a dark-looking church from the passage of time and the lack of continuous preservation and repair. In 1992, the ambitious project of the renovation of the Church of St. George began with the continuous support of the Angelopoulos family. One of the first concerns was the supporting of the roof, which was gradually collapsing. The patriarchal throne was preserved and returned to its original majestic look. Based on a marble foundation, it is 12 feet high and is constructed of walnut wood. The old wood-carved iconostasy was cleaned of smoke and dust and was gold-leaved again, giving a new look to the icons, the majority of which date back to the year 1746. The big and elegant displays holding the icons of John the Baptist, the Pamakaristos, and the Lady of Kyzikos were cleaned, restored, and gold-leaved. The old holy icons of Prophet Elias and St. George in the narthex of the church were also restored. The cantor's stands were decorated with inset ivory pieces. The artistic pulpit and its helix-shaped staircase were renovated. New ebony seats were constructed next to the patriarchal throne. On these sit the synodical metropolitans during the patriarchal and synodical liturgies. The ceiling was beautifully decorated with crosses, stars, and other patterns, while the center part was designed as a dome, holding an icon of Christ blessing. Finally, the balcony, which covers the western side of the church and a major part of the north and east sides, was totally reconstructed. Today, the restored patriarchal church is also rising as the symbol of the renewed vigor of the ecumenical patriarchate in the leadership of Orthodox Christianity, and its pioneering stance in the dialogue for tolerance and understanding in the world. The meaning of this work is that it allows the survival of an institution, a mission that imprints the history of this region, the history of Europe, the history of humankind for so many centuries. Without the contribution of the Angelopoulos family, it might be that people tomorrow would pass by and look at the ruins of where the Patriarchate once used to be. While now the Patriarchate survives, it is present, it is alive.
Κύριε, επίβλεψον εξ ουρανού και είδε και επίσκεψε την άμπελον ταύτην και κατάρτισε αυτήν, είναι φύτευσεν η δεξιά σου.
The presence of Deputy Prime Minister Anastasios Peponis as the official representative of the Greek government, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs George Papandreou, a numerous parliamentary delegation and representatives from the academic community and the mass media accentuated the support of the United Hellenism to the Ecumenical Patriarchate, with the opportunity of the glorious celebration of the Sunday of Orthodoxy. At the same time, live satellite coverage of the event by Greek television allowed the Greek nation and Greeks all over Europe to participate in this important liturgy.
Και παρακαλούμε σε δια τούτο δέσποτο που ανάγει και εμείς η αμαρτωλή και δεν έχει καθήλωτα δεν έχει πλάτη. Και ένα αξιδούλη σου και ταξιοθένει σου εκλογή του Αγίου σου Χριστηρίου, ου δια τας δικαιοσύνης ημών μου καρεπτήσει με τη ραθανή της γης αλλά διατελέσουν σου. Θαρούντος προσεγγίζομαι το Αγίου σου εστίλιο και παριστέμεις στα αντίκειτα του Αγίου Σώματος και ενώπιον του Χριστού Ιωάννου σε παρακαλούμε Άγιοι Ιωάννου της Ερεθρός. Εθνή το πνεύμα σου του Άγιον εφημάς και προγνέδα ρωτάφτα και βοήσε αυτά και ιάσε και να δείξει. Ο Θεός ηλάσει τίμη το αμαρτωλό και λέει σώμα. Τον μεν άρτων τούτον αυτό το τίμιον σώμα του Κυρίου και Θεού και Σωτήρου ημών Ιησού Χριστού, το δεποτήριον τούτο αυτό το τίμιον αίμα του Κυρίου και Θεού και Σωτήρου ημών Ιησού Χριστού, το εκχυθέν υπέρ της του κόσμου και σωτηρίας μεταβαλών το πνεύμα σου το Αγίο. Αμήν. Είμαστε πάντα στους εκ των ενός άρτου και του Κυρίου μετέχοντας. Και ομολογώ της έλιστος όλους τους ζώνους ορθώνες του κόσμου από τους όσων πρόθους με ιερούς. Δέσποτα φιλάνθρωπε Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός μου, μη εις κρίμα με γέννητο τα Άγια ταύτα δια του ανάξιον είμαι, αλλά εις κάθαρσιν και αγιασμόν ψυχήστε και σώματος και εις αραβώνας ζωής και βασιλείας. Εμείς δεν προσκολάστε το Θεό αγαθόν εις τη τίθεσαι εν το Κυρίο την ελπίδα της σωτηρίας μου, του δείπνος του μυστικού σήμερα ιερέ Θεού κοινωνών παράλαβε μοίρα της ευθύς των μυστήρων, ή που φίλοι μας Θεός ο καθάτερο Ιούδας. Άλλος οριστής ομολογός, μνήστητη μου Κύριε τη βασιλεία σου, μνήστητη μου Άγιε, μνήστητη μου Δέσποτα. Ο Θεός ηλάστη τίμη το αμαρτωλό και λέει σών. Αδελφοί και συλλειτουργείς συγχωρήσατε με. Είδω προσέφτουμε Χριστό το θανάτου βασιλεί και Θεό ημών, μεταδίδωτε με Βαρθολομαίο το αναξίο αρχιερεί το τίμιον και πανάγιον και πανακύρωτον σώμα του Κυρίου και Θεού και Σωτήρος ημών Ιησού Χριστού, εις άφεσιν αμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν.
The modern and elegant building complex in Constantinople symbolizes the vitality and vision with which the Patriarchate views the future, as well as the strength and certainty derived from a history of 2,000 years.
Μεταδίδωτε εις σώμα και αίμα Χριστού, εις άφεσιν αμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν. Μεταδίδωτε σε σώμα και αίμα Χριστού, εις άφεσιν αμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν. μεταδίδωτες εις σώμα και αίμα Χριστού, εις άφεσιν σωμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν. Μεταδίδωτες εις σώμα και αίμα Χριστού, εις άφεσιν σωμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν. Μεταδίδωτες εις σώμα και αίμα Χριστού, εις άφεσιν σωμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν. Μεταδίδωτες εις σώμα και αίμα Χριστού, εις άφεσιν σωμαρτιών και ζωήν την αιώνιον. Αμήν.
The renovation of the Holy Patriarchal Church of St. George becomes the pinnacle in the continuous effort for the protection and preservation of the center of worldwide orthodoxy. This historic moment is mentioned with a commemorative plaque in the narthex of the church. During Bartholomew's Patriarchate, this holy church was made to shine, filled with light, with the support of the great benefactor Panagiotis Angelopoulos and the supervision of the metropolitans Chalkidonos Ioachim, Pergas Evangelos, and Iliopolios and Theron Athanasios, and the work of architects Aristidis Passadeos and Dimitrios Raitsakowski, in the Salvatory year 1994, March the 20th.